Do you place limitations on yourself and your art? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. You don't have to. Or do you? Maybe color is an exception? Well, let's face it, limitations might be good, might be bad. Depends on the circumstances. In the case of color, it can be very good. You can learn a lot, and you should learn a lot. It's important to be able to mix, know how to mix, discover what colors can do. Yeah? What are the benefits of putting limitations on your color? You love color limitations? Okay, how come? Ever since you heard the song Paint It Black. Well, working on a bit of a landscape here, and as you can see, it's kind of long and skinny, very horizontal. Now, this is something I chose out of a series of thumbnails that I did for compositional study and color study. I did those for patrons. If you want to see those patrons, go check them out. And it has really kind of helped me in this painting. And this is really the standard best practices way to do what you hope will be a finished painting. You know, I talk a lot about spontaneous painting. That has been my best teacher. And I probably fail to talk about how important it is to plan for a good painting when you're ready to do something that you're hoping will be final. I never expect every painting to be final, even the ones that I try to make final. There's a certain amount of spontaneity in every planned painting, but the planning process is sound. It's the best practice for doing a well-planned and executed painting. So those studies and those thumbnails, I'm using one of them, expanding it into this new aspect ratio. And what I'm doing here is using 6 specific colors. Now, I've been working with these 6 colors a lot, and we're going to talk today primarily about using a limited palette. I talk about limited palettes a lot. You see me use 2 colors, 3 colors, 4, 5. This is 6, and this is a set of colors that you can do a lot with. I've been working with this set of colors now for about 3 or 4 months, and I'm just really thrilled with them. And we're going to talk about 5 ways in which using a limited color palette can really benefit you. I mean benefit you, really advance your ability to paint and your sense of color and using color. So first of all, when I talk about a limited palette, I'm not necessarily saying you only want to go out and buy a few colors. Now, if you're a beginner, that's good advice. You don't have to buy a bunch of colors. You can buy, say, 6, 10 at the most if you want to. However, if you've been buying and collecting paint for a while, maybe you have 100 or more. I do. I'm a color collector. I love various colors. That's not quite the same thing as painting with a limited palette. You can even have a palette with 20. Oh, I have a palette, I think, that has 18 to 20 colors. And you can decide out of that palette what 3, 4, 5, 6 colors you want to use. Very good practice to do, and we're going to talk about why. The number one reason, the best reason, is it greatly improves your mixing IQ. It helps you get to know those however many color you choose. In this case, it's 6. It helps you to get to know those very, very well. Preferably in those 6, you've got some complements. You've got warm and cool. You've got the colors that are going to mix to make the colors that you want for that painting. So you do have to think about it in advance. But it is so much easier to get to know a set of colors and what they will do by limiting them. I know that probably sounds obvious, but there are a lot of artists that don't think about that. I do not personally think it's fun to paint with one of these big 48 color palettes. You know, whether you have opened yourself up to using all 48 colors. Oh my goodness. And 9 times out of 10, when I am doing something like that, using a palette with a large selection of colors, I end up painting with 3 or 4 or 5 of them anyway. So just decide in advance what colors you're going to use and get to know those colors really well. Do a few paintings with them. Learn the complements and how complements will mix for neutrals or near neutrals. Look at the color temperature in those selections, the warm and the cool. Decide how you're going to use the warm and the cool. Practice using them in different ways. I mean, You will learn so much about particular colors if you limit yourself to a selection of 6 or less for a given painting. Reason number 2, color harmony. Limited color palettes just naturally give your painting a little bit more of a harmonious color look. It's kind of hard to describe why, but limited palettes just make for really pleasing, satisfying color schemes, in my opinion. Of course, it depends on what colors you pick. You can pick a limited set of analogous colors. You can pick a limited set of complementary colors. You can pick a limited set of just like one hue, like all greens or all browns. So much you can do. And going back to my first point, you'll just learn. You will learn more about those colors than you have ever learned before when you've opened yourself up to being able to choose from 15, 20, 25. Okay, reason number 3. It reduces indecision anxiety. And I kind of touched on this already. If you have a 48 color palette, or really even a 24 color palette, sometimes, especially if you're a beginner, and you haven't decided what you're going to paint and how you're going to paint it, what colors, sometimes in the moment as you're painting, you can be struck with indecision. Should I choose that color or that color? These 2 colors are kind of close. These 2 aren't. What do I do? Which one do I use? You're getting those decisions out of the way. You're forcing yourself into a particular color scheme. And that anxiety can really kind of ruin a painting. I have experienced it many times. I don't know what color to paint here. And it's almost always because I'm painting with a full palette of colors and I haven't decided in advance. All right, reason number 4. And it's kind of related to the others. It helps you better focus on value and composition. You've gotten those color decisions out of the way. You know you can only use so many colors for the warms, for the cools. You only have so many ways to create greens, maybe, just as an example. You only have so many ways to create a blue or a brown. So you're going to use those instead. You're focusing on the lights, the darks, the value shapes, the compositional elements in your painting. All of the reduction in that indecision helps you focus on other things. The 6 colors I'm using here are Hooker's Green, Dragon's Blood, Phthalo Turquoise, Quinacridone Lake. It's a very cool red. Dragon's Blood is sort of a burnt sienna or red iron oxide color. Yellow Ocher, and Indigo. So I'm able to make yellows with the yellow ochre, nice earthy yellows. I'm able to make green with not only the Hooker's Green, but also with the Phthalo Turquoise mixed with the yellow ochre. The indigo and the yellow ochre will also produce a little bit of an interesting green. So I've got some very earthy green options here. It's easy to mix the Quinacridone Lake with the indigo and get a nice purple, something very invaluable. Purples and yellow ochres combine to make various earth tones. This is turning out to be a very flexible palette. I can mute the Phthalo Turquoise a little bit, maybe add a bit of indigo to it for a sky. Gives you kind of a Payne's gray sort of a hue. But I chose these 6 colors. I spent some time thinking about it, and I have spent some time learning to use them. And it's just been fantastic. And all of that learning has come about because I've only chosen 6. And I forced myself to mix. I also love the surprises that I get and sort of the non-intuitive use of color sometimes you can get. For instance, the Quinacridone Lake, I kind of got a strong use of that. I was thinking sort of fall foliage in the tree line. Perhaps got the Quinacridone Lake in there a little stronger than I originally intended, but I thought it looked pretty neat. Not necessarily 100% natural and realistic, but I like it. It works. You'll run into color surprises like that, and just forcing yourself to choose a particular color that you might not have actually chosen for something. Finally, the very last reason, this is sort of related to the color harmony, and that's you're less likely to overmix and make mud. Getting too many colors on your palette will make mud. And or sometimes it will make colors that you can't remember how to recreate, which goes back to the color mixing IQ. All very important factors in mixing and using colors. So I stress with you, take those colors, those 24 color palettes, those 48 color palettes, go through your collection of 100 colors. I know some of you have them out there. I do. And start putting together interesting limited color palettes. And just seeing what you can do with them. Just have some real fun with them. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate you watching. See everybody in the next video. Bye-bye.